Welcome back to Starladder SEA coverage, our final game of the night here, and we've got MiTH Trust versus Johnny's Revenge. We just saw MiTH Trust take an unfortunate defeat, but they're hungry for vengeance, and maybe they'll step it up this game. Lakel's playing that Wraith King and just couldn't find any space, Blaze. Hopefully he'll have better luck this time.
Yeah, looking at the draft, I'm actually a lot more confident in what they can bring into the remainder of their hero picks and what they can accomplish in this game in general. I really feel like
Dire
Lakel's
team ban.
is so much stronger and a hero with great escape mechanisms. The Wraith King is kind of a hero that, okay, well, I don't mind too much if I die, but obviously we saw their opponents had a great lineup for bringing him down the second time. They had great burst damage. They just would not let him escape and would not let him farm. So,
10
uh,
seconds remaining.
yeah, it's just in this case, I would love to see him pick up something like a Weaver,
5
something like a
seconds
Morphling, or something
remaining.
like that. And they actually really can go for that with the draft they've set up by having the Death Prophet ban initially,
Reserve
convincing
time.
Johnny's Revenge to go for the Doom ban. That allows them to pick up the Skywrath Brewmaster duo, so they don't have to worry about the silencing heroes. They can go ahead and pick up the ones that are reliant on spells to do big things, like the Primal Split to control the tempo of the game, as well
Dire
as
team
use
pick.
them for escapes in the heroes that I mentioned.
Yeah, and Weaver would actually be just about perfect here. There certainly are some other crowd control heavy heroes that Johnny's Revenge could pick up, but Weaver great against Viper and pretty good against Razor too. If you get caught in the static link, you can Shikuchi away, and not so much that the Razor can do about it. So very well could be an option for MiTH Trust. Morphling is always an option though. That is that signature
10
Lakel's hero that I
seconds
think
remaining.
we've all come to love and respect. So you never know.
5
Certainly an
seconds
option there,
remaining.
but they will take their time. MiTH Trust do have a reserve time advantage. Johnny's Revenge had a couple of connection issues
Reserve
getting in,
time.
so they were docked some of that valuable reserve time starting at 40 seconds.
But they're going to be both thinking about what to do in the next stage of the draft here, as we do see MiTH Trust is in a bit of contemplative phase of their own. They're going to be thinking about it a little much. They banned out the Shadow Shaman. They were pretty convinced that they didn't want to give that over to Sharky, pretty much one of his go-to support heroes when he gets the chance. But banning out Winter's Tide, banning out Sharky's Shadow Shaman. They know what they didn't want to face, but how will they follow up this next pick? Could go a little early in the draft with the core hero, but in this case, it is going to be
Radiant team
showing off
pick.
their offlaner. So we have My Pro Brewmaster on the mid lane. We've got KYT offlaning with the Nature's Prophet, the support Skywrath, and the other two picks remaining to be seen.
Yeah, Nature's Prophet, not a bad choice. Their offlaner probably should be pretty solid. So Johnny's Revenge, how do they want to react? They will need their two supports and another core of sorts, probably an off-lane.
10
Centaur's
seconds
been banned
remaining.
out, as has the Tide. We have seen that Winter
5
Clockwork quite a
seconds
few times,
remaining.
and maybe that'll be an option here for Johnny's Revenge.
Yeah, I think that's the big question is what is Winter going to play? Because
Reserve
he really wants
time.
to enable himself to have great success. The
Dire
Dazzle's going to come
team
out for
pick.
now. It's kind of just buying them time to figure out a little bit more of what MiTH Trust have in line for their late game. If they're going to be really going late with pickups like the Morphling, Nagasire, and Anti-Mage, the ones that Kells plays specially, or if it's going to be something more like a Wraith King that we saw last game. So once they learn the tempo of the game, how much pressure they need to put out, that'll give them a clearer picture of where they need to go with the draft. For now, the Dazzle, he's a good all-around hero that can keep
10
Razor and Viper
seconds
alive. The
remaining.
longer the fight goes on, the more they're going to do. But yeah,
Hmm.
Winter's options are quite limited.
5
And not having the
seconds
Tide,
remaining.
Doom, Centaur, or Brewmaster, those are the four go-to. The Clockwork on top seems reasonable
Reserve
and
time.
could be pretty good against what MiTH Trust have picked up. But yeah, let's have to be careful about how you play it against the Skywrath.
Yeah, if the Clockwork either doesn't get fourth picked here or is banned out by MiTH Trust, I really wonder what Winter will be relegated to. There aren't too many other options, and maybe we'll see
Radiant
with this
team
fourth pick.
pick.
It is the Earthshaker for MiTH Trust, though, to go with that Skywrath Mage, and we'll save that Lakel's hero for last, so Johnny's Revenge will have an opportunity to ban out one of their least favorite Lakel's pairings. As we've mentioned, Morphling and Weaver, probably the top two that Johnny's Revenge will want to ban out. They'll have a little bit of time to think about this, decide do they want to grab their second support or their offlaner.
I think they have to go for the offlaner
10
now. Like you
seconds
said, they have that
remaining.
one last ban coming through, and you ban out another offlaner, and Winter just doesn't have
5
any real
seconds
choices. So
remaining.
unless they're looking at maybe adapting their strategy towards an aggressive tri lane, they really just need to pick up that core
Reserve
hero.
time.
So we'll see. The Shadow Demon come out. They get the combo for the
Dire team
early
ban.
ganks, but they will not find their offlaner just yet. So that'll be the question of if they're going to be going maybe an aggressive tri lane. I could see that working pretty well actually between Shadow Demon, Dazzle, and Viper. But yeah, no matter the case, they obviously will be needing some team fight ultis to
10
follow through with.
seconds remaining.
Yeah, definitely right. So a lot riding on these last two picks on both sides. Always that Lakel's hero is pretty important. And as we've talked about, this offlaner for Johnny's Revenge will certainly be an important facet as well. MiTH Trust really considering their options about what they want to ban out here. I really think Clockwork is the obvious choice, but they're thinking quite hard about it. I mean,
Yeah.
whoa. Okay, they ban out Axe. I guess they're scared of that killer tri-lane with the Dazzle Shadow Demon Axe and I guess assuming it would be an off-lane Viper or maybe just an aggro try with the safe lane Viper.
Yeah, that's probably what they would be a little bit more afraid of than anything else, and they don't really have the tools to deal with it so much. They have squishy heroes in the Skywrath and the Earthshaker, so I could see it warranted. I'm not sure that's what JR would have gone for, but at the same time, it's one of those fringe picks that they just don't want to have to deal with. They're going to ban out Lakel's Morphling. I really do think this means the Weaver is the hero for him, because getting out of Shadow Demon, Dazzle, Viper, and Razor, you got to have 522 MS. You're going to be slowed so much by Demonic Purge, by Viper Strike, things of that nature. I can't see anything else but the Weaver working here.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we'll just have to be patient and see if MiTH Trust third the notion.
10 seconds remaining.
But yeah, time will tell. So if they don't end up going aggro try on the side of Johnny's Revenge, I guess that means Razor probably headed to the mid and a tri-lane built around the Viper. I guess that makes the most sense. I guess there's still a chance that they could aggro try. Centaur is the other big one that comes to mind for this kind of setup and ridiculous combo, but of course he has been banned out already.
We'll see. 15 seconds remain. MiTH Trust have to figure this one out. Lakel's obviously is feeding Naki the information as far as what he intends to play here, and we'll see if it'll be what he needs to take the game here. But the Golden Naga Siren, this was something that I was possibly considering. Not something that we see very often played by Lakel's, just because micro is not nearly his style as much as just a split push emphasis with mobile and durable heroes. But Naga Siren, if played very well, obviously has a lot of potential and is not going to be very easy for Johnny's Revenge to bring down clean and cut. I mean, whenever they're in these fights, they have to realize they're taking a lot of damage from Skywrath and Earthshaker already, so they'll have the reactive play, but this is a fun one. Johnny Meepo. Not one that I've seen, but one that could be extremely effective here.
Yeah, this is a nice change of pace for Johnny's Revenge, and I'm curious how they'll set up these lanes. This is a scary tri lane, whether it's an aggro tri or safe lane. Shadow Demon, Dazzle, Meepo. Very obvious synergy just between all three of them. Dazzle can heal bomb the Shadow Demon illusions from the disruption, and also just heal bomb on Meepo once an Earthbind comes out. And with the disruption to set it up, you should be able to grab an Earthbind very easily following that up. And I see no way that this tri-lane will not pick up some kills or just completely zone out any of their opposition.
Yeah, but it really depends on the support players as well. Ling, I have a lot of confidence in. Obviously, Winter does too. They played together on MUFC, and I believe there was a point where he was on Orange Esports as well. So Ling is definitely been around the block a few times with a lot of these players. But all the same, they definitely need to make sure the combo works. Like, it's not as easy mode as you might think with enemies' movements being what they are. They might be able to avoid a lot of those confrontations, and you just won't get the range unless you're diving under tower. So we'll see how carefully MiTH Trust played and how well Ling and Sharky will synergize this time around.
Yeah, you're definitely right, but with all that sustain from Dazzle in a shallow grave, maybe diving towers won't really be that big of an issue for him. Yeah, time will tell. Oh, Lakel's rocking the Arteezy Pro gear, at least the blades and some of the pieces there, the helmet. Oh boy, this is a stylish Naga Siren. Lakel's will be headed solo mid on the Naga. It will be KYT in the off lane on the Nature's Prophet, rocking the Naked Grieval. I like their style. And it will be a safe lane try around the Brewmaster with the Skywrath and Earthshaker keeping him safe. Now, it will be an aggro tri lane from Johnny's Revenge. Winter will go solo safe lane Viper. That puts Chibi X in the mid on Razor. And there's this scary aggro tri we've been talking about, the Shadow Demon Dazzle and Mr. Meepo.
Yeah, so it'll be pretty interesting how quickly he gets the levels he needs to really run the double Meepo, the Divide We Stand. In a tri-lane split 3 ways, that is going to be a little difficult for him to build that up as quickly as he'd like, but they just need 1 or 2 kills to get that ball rolling, and we'll see if the defensive play of Naki and SD will be enough to keep it covered.
The battle begins.
Yeah, absolutely. So
first rune.
Battle begins, and first rune spawns. There's a disruption out, and MyPro will be the one to grab the first rune. Naki does take the initial heal bomb from Dazzle. It just tickles him, but a fair bit of chip damage, and they will head towards the top lane. MiPro still with the invisibility rune on, but they were standing right there, so shouldn't really get him too much extra momentum out of the gate, despite having that vision edge. So just goes back to path blocking, and will commence the last hitting.
Yeah, so I think this is actually pretty nice for them on the side of MiTH Trust as far as trying to play reactively. Although it's not great at all for the Naga Siren to have to 1v1 the Razor, it's better than her being stuck on this tri-lane and just being singled out time and time again by the disruption. Of course, even with her armor, she still doesn't have that much HP to work with, and she's a lot easier target to bring down than the Brewmaster. So their idea here is just to minimize deaths, to continue to play defensively, get the defensive fissures out as necessary, and keep Lakel's at least on the lane. He might not be farming as much as he wants to up against the Razor, time will tell, but for now at least getting some good CS early with the Riptide, and could be enough to get him some boots fast enough.
Yep, we'll certainly allow him to get his fast bottle, but these two supports rotating mid, they want to slow down the Naga, but that leaves the Meepo behind. Fissure comes out from Naki, will be off the mark as Meepo ends up on the defensive side of it, and will be just fine towards the tower. Now Lakel's in the mid, will be the target of choice, perhaps looking for a courier snipe. They won't find it, the bottle's already been delivered, and Lakel's with beautiful positioning. He knows the supports are missing, stays on the south end of the tower, but Naki, he comes over, walks right into him, drops the fissure, but there's the disruption. The heal bomb to follow up from Dazzle does a ton of damage, and first blood is drawn by Ling on the Shadow Demon. So, yeah. I guess still good news for MiTH as they were trying to gank the Naga, and the Earthshaker is a much better target to fall than the Naga Siren on that front.
Yeah, kind of a glass cannon here. He's the non-combative caster. He only has 2 armor. The Skywrath Mage also has 1, so both of them being very prime targets to get in range for the disruption. And now they got the boots on Ling, so they have a movement speed advantage across the map in general, and that's going to remain true for quite some time. There is no like surge, there's no maximum movement speed mechanic, so when they connect with slows, they're always going to be running down the opposition. I mean, maybe the concussive, the clap might give them a little bit of space here and there, but in general, JR are going to be the ones to pursue, and we do see that holding true on the mid lane. Chibi getting some nice steals from Lakel's and losing out all of his base damage. He literally can't last it with his main hero and has to try for it with the illusions.
Yeah. Meepo finds level 3, the first of many milestones for him, and will instantly start splitting about. And Johnny moves the second Meepo towards the jungle, and we'll start perhaps looking for some side farm, and always opportunities to move into lanes and try and set up kills with that first point in Earthbind, just to set it up for the Viper. Even if he rotates down bottom, that could be all Winter needs to grab a kill on this Nature's Prophet. Speaking of the bottom lane, Winter is winning decently over the NP, 14-2 versus the 8-3 Prophet of KYT. So good news there for the Radiant side. Mid still looking pretty good for Chibi, 14-6 versus the 7-0 Naga Sirens. You talked about Lakel's having some difficulty in this lane against the Razor. Still better than the tri-lane, but not so easy. Plasma Field comes through. Chibi with a lot of damage, almost brings down the Nature's Prophet, but will overcommit and falls to the creeps.
Wow, that was just so damn close. 11 HP, even less on the Nature's Prophet, and then him getting ensnared on the tower. Lakel's going for the uncharacteristic 1-point ensnare. We've seen him and many other carry-based Naga Siren mid players go for the no ensnare build-up, but this allows him to get him under tower and does net them the kill. So very nice pickup there, and yeah, that's going to be the turnaround that really shifts how this mid lane plays out, because the Naga Siren can actually get her boots, as I mentioned, and she won't be suffering as much from that static link.
Yep, Meepo just stacking in the jungle with his first little
tower
duplicate
is under
there,
attack.
while the Meepo Prime farms away in the top lane. Meanwhile, down bottom, a huge bit of creep equilibrium for Johnny's Revenge pressing forward into the tower. They find KYT, and they do force him to TP home, or do they? The disruption comes out. That'll stop him dead in his tracks. Now they'll have the damage to bring him down. And that'll be a big victory for Johnny's Revenge, as they should secure this tower off of it. Mid lane, ooh, Chibi X will fall as there's a rotation from the supports.
Yep, there you go ahead. Just lock him down, get the concussive, the Fissure, and the easy kill there. Also leaves Brewmaster by himself top. Meepo not looking for blood, but is going to rotate the secondary Meepo up top here. So there is some real potential for push on the top lane, some damage going that way. But yeah, he has the stack. He's done what he needed to with the secondary one. And now he's going to start taking some experience back. The reason that you don't want to keep your Meepos together for too long in this kind of situation is it just deprives the Dazzle of so much experience. It's essentially the tri-lane split experience with only the 2 heroes on the aggressive position. So if you look at it like he needs experience, he needs to keep moving. But we'll see action down bottom as KYT limps away once again.
Yeah, Winter afraid to commit too deep there and is forced back, loses his Shadow Demon. Now MiTH Trust take a hero kill lead, but still Johnny's Revenge with a minor golden experience edge as they have found a slightly more efficient laning phase, especially in the last hit department. Viper 29 CS compared to the 10 of the Nature's Prophet. So even though Winter didn't get the kill there, still looking pretty damn good in farm. Meepo still just stacking up in the jungle and hasn't really done a hell of a lot yet, but looking for that baseline of farm, just sitting on brown boots and a stout shield.
Yeah. Now that he's level 5, he'll be able to clear out the stack, and that's gonna be really nice for him. Gets one more stack coming in from the western side. Meanwhile, the Naki fake casting the Fisher, looking for maybe an opportunity to pin him down in the river. But for now, it's just going to be Chibi kind of running over the lane, building up his last hits pretty hardcore, and he'll be having his phase boots most likely in a very short span of time. Could go for the mechanism build-up, but we do see that there are a lot of good heroes to pick that up on, and in general, he isn't in any rush to acquire that specific item piece. But in either case, they're doing a really good job in general of just getting the most out of the map. The kill count, like you said, is in favor of MiTH Trust, but at least for right now, the CS board is fully in favor of JR, and that's before the Meepo starts really ramping up. He starts jungling at about this time, maybe looking for one more stack, and he is going to be able to just jump forward immensely in farm. It's not a easy out as they're still up against some great AoE clear mechanics like the Wrath of Nature and that Echo Slam, but at least for now, it's going to mean a lot as far as his mobility and his potential to build up stats in that Aghanim Scepter.
Yeah, and obviously Johnny's Revenge very confident against the Earthshaker with the Meepos. They picked right into it. It's kind of considered a counter, but Earthshaker was drafted first. Naki with another fissure that I think it was intentional to have Chibi on this side, but either way, wouldn't have made for an easy kill as he could have just run south down the river, or if he was on the other side of it, just headed straight back to the tower. So Razor survived, and meanwhile in the bottom lane, Winter and Ling just press into that tier 1, and they do secure the first tower kill of the game. Viper, who's already pretty damn farmed, grabs that last hit, and he has the Aquila. Will be able to pick up power treads and be well on his way to a very fast mech.
Yeah, these two have been working really well together. I mean, that kill down on Nature's Prophet, it's not one that many teams would get. The timing of that disruption to interrupt the teleport cast animation at the very last possible second enabled them to, of course, make it so that he had to go for the full TP again, just didn't have the time for it. So it takes a really good, solid lineup to know exactly when to be aggressive under tower in particular, and in that case, that they're just synergizing really well, taking a lot of early gold leads. And if you just look at the graphs, although the kill count is not in their favor, they're still very far ahead.
Yeah, certainly so. And that early tower making a big difference on that front. Power treads now up on Chibi's Razor, who still finding much better farm in the mid lane than Lakel's on the Naga Siren. Not just in raw last hits, but a big deny disparity. 17 on the Razor and 0 for the Naga Siren. Lakel's will now just rotate into the jungle. He did go for the Aquila on brown boots, doing more of this kind of fighting Naga style build, if you will, before the Radiance. Kind of becoming the new standard. The Radiance Rush just so much harder to get away with, and really a lot more risky, because if you do get picked off when you're at that 2,800, 3,000 gold mark with all that unreliable, you can start that snowball going the opposite way down the hill, and things get tricky. MyPro, though, with a 9-minute Blink Dagger on the Brewmaster, that is great news for MiTH Trust, as they do have some tempo controlling.
Yeah, that is going to be the way they get themselves back into this game. Right now, the laning phase didn't go as hot as they'd like it to, but it's manageable. And we actually see a potential gank here on the mid lane. The Fisher into the ensnare. Chibi completely locked in this triangle. A great movement from MiTH Trust and a beautiful Fisher from Naki.
Pardon me. Finally finds the Fisher he's looking for. And, follow-up
MyPro going deep. Ling is going to be able to get the disruption off here. Doesn't have Demonic Purge or anything to really make him regret his decision, but even still, keeping himself alive and forcing the brew back.
Yep. So Meepo is now working the jungle, and 2,300 gold on him. We'll see what item build he wants to go for. May just be rushing the Blink Dagger. Mech will be out on the Viper, so not an item that Meepo will have to fiddle around with this game. Could also just be looking to kind of rush an Aghanim Scepter. I'm not really sure exactly how Johnny likes to play his Meepo.
Yeah, I mean, the Blink Dagger is very risky. Going in and getting a couple kills off of it, it can be extremely valuable, but right now he's up against so much AoE damage that it's probably not worth it compared to just getting stats on your secondary and tertiary Meepo. So we'll see right now that he's just going to be farming it up and still is going to bank up the gold way beyond 2150. So the Ags it is. And he can really do a lot with it, obviously, once he gets that extra Meepo, once he gets the extra stats. But right now it's going to be 4-man movement on the side of JR, and I honestly think this is the better way to play Meepo. A lot of teams make the mistake of bringing Meepo to the party, but when he starts bringing in as many Meepos as there are heroes on the side of JR in general, that would be sapping pretty much 50% of the experience. Instead, they keep it spread, they keep the efficiency up, and they're going to be able to put some good chip damage into this tier 1 tower mid.
Yeah, Winter about 200 gold away from the mech, so this tower kill will secure it, whether he gets the last hit or not. Up in the top lane, Meepo coming to the defense of the tower, but fight will break out in the mid, and we'll have a pause right as the exchange happens. Mama looks like he needs a reconnect here.
Yep, so we're going to see him come back into it pretty soon, but this is a rather unfortunate time to pause as there is really everything happening right now. There is no mecha in Winter, just a buckler already popped off, but they are going to be taking some major damage from this primal split. The fire pin is already out. The Fisher once again pinning in the Razor. He is in a really rough position right now, and even though they're able to dodge a couple tower attacks and wait out the stun duration with that nice defensive disruption, he's still going to come out trapped in where there's a couple illusions just to his east, and of course the Fisher blocking and pinning him in for several more seconds. So still taking a lot of hits here, and even with the treads, the bottle, the magic wand, it's going to be hard to keep him up. They're definitely going to have to use the shallow grave.
Yep. Most certainly, and Dazzle with a very defensive build, and skipping the poison touch altogether, but has that nice value point in Grave, the level 2, gives you that additional range, which makes his life just so much easier. Doesn't have to put himself in the risky position that usually comes along with a level 1 shallow grave, and of course lowering that cooldown just a little bit more. So we'll have the resume, and we'll see how this fight breaks out. Disruption's already there. Primal Split comes out, and Chibi in some trouble. He will get the grave off, and he will survive the initial onslaught, but not enough damage to keep him up indefinitely. The turnaround onto the Skywrath Mage. Naki with just a few hit points to spare will go down to the Shadow Demon, but MyPro just dropping the Dazzle. Winter uses the Viper Strike, and it's a pretty even exchange, though it seems like Johnny's Revenge will finally take the edge. It's a 2 for 3, and the Viper plays cleanup at the end.
Yeah, considering the fact that the Primal Split was the big cooldown committed to this fight, Johnny's Revenge is really happy with how that played out. They just made them focus the Razor for a really long period of time with that Shallow Grave. They kept on hitting him even though he was immortal for that time frame. So, yeah, they couldn't get him out, but they were able to at least turn it around. The unfortunate disadvantage is now that they're committed to the mid lane, they didn't die. The people that did can TP reinforce the top lane. That's where Meepo will fall.
Yep, Meepo goes down. Space created for this mid tower. Viper gets the last hit again. So now Winter grabs himself the mech, and will have already 1,100 gold to work with, and well on his way to an Aghanim Scepter. So you never really want to concede a death on Meepo, but in this scenario, Johnny's Revenge will still find an okay trade out of it. Meepo now just working towards that Ags, has his Power Treads and Ogre Club, so getting those value items up first and getting a little bit more tanky as Johnny's Revenge group up towards the top lane. It looks like they just want to finish off these outer towers sooner rather than later and get this ball rolling down the hill, find Meepo some of that early farm. Naga Siren not going for the Drum of Endurance, 2,500 gold up on her. Lakells will be looking at a pretty good Radiance timing depending on how these next little skirmishes break out.
Definitely needs it sooner rather than later, but we know that even... Well, actually, this tower, yeah, this is going down very quickly. There's no way they hold this. But, yeah, we know that even when the Radiance comes out, it's not going to be like the make or break thing, because Meepo's already here with a lot of magic resistance, and the Shadow Demon is going to start ranking up his disruption pretty soon. It means the illusions will last long enough to really make the Radiant Steel worthwhile, and you can even just cast that on the enemy illusions. Speaking of abilities that you can do that with is the Static Link. If the illusions go out too far, you can just sap up their damage. Doesn't really take much away from them, but it certainly gives a lot to Chibi as he moves throughout the fights.
Yep, definitely. Now MiTH Trust making movements towards the top lane and mounted defense. MyPro with Blink and Primal Split at the ready will be looking for an opportunity to initiate defensive weave from the Dazzle to start stacking up the armor. And MiTH Trust will have now a full team rotation, less that of the Nature's Prophet, who can TP in if need be. Chibi caught inside of the Song of the Siren. Radiant Courier flies overhead. No one will pick it off, but this is some pretty scary setup. In comes Naki to start things off. Shadow Demon falls. Chibi has nowhere to go. Beautiful block. Winter will stand his ground for now, and no other choice really, just trying to focus down Lakells. Sharky joining the party, helping out. Mech is used, but is it enough to keep Sharky alive? The Shallow Grave certainly will be. And where does he go from here? Eats his stick charges, and will make it back. Now KYT stuck inside of his own Sprout, but he'll commence the right clicks. Meepo now rotating up top. It's a dead Nature's Prophet and MiTH Trust on the back foot. It looked like a good fight out of the gate, but now they are in shambles. MyPro getting clicked down hard by Sharky. Meepo's still alive. 7 hit points to spare. Gets healed up. Just barely lives. But Johnny's Revenge, once more, take a very strong team fight.
Meepo's heart has to be pounding so fast right now, just barely with an inch of his life. He will survive. 2 HP, literally, is what he went down to there. But he does survive. He gets away from the Brewmaster, and those slows prevail. Like, I looked really bad at the start, as you mentioned, the song, the Fisher, blocking in, so they were committed to the fight 100%. They could not disengage from that position without 4 staffs, and that meant so that they were able to actually force the fight with that Primal Split, which is something that you rarely want to go up against. But JR, they wait it out. They get a couple of good pickoffs, particularly on SD Mama, who was too far on the western side and far too squishy to go up against the Viper long term. So in the end, JR take another great fight, and on the back of wasting some cooldowns, they also take a tower. So they are moving forward, moving towards that Aghanims. Yeah, Meepo's got that one too. So they are in such a good spot in this game right now.
Yeah, MiTH Trust will mount the defense at this tier 2 in the mid lane. Chibi gets initiated on first, but he's pretty darn tanky now. Has that point booster and the Drone of Endurance. Naki takes the Viper Strike. Winter starts to lay into him, can't secure the kill. Mystic Flare really just tickles the Viper at this point. They'll use the defensive weave once more as Winter tanks the tower shots, wants to keep that siege creep alive. Will be able to mech up, and now this should be a dead tower. No glyph available for MiTH Trust, and they are rapidly losing momentum. Naga Siren still a decent net worth. Pretty close to the relic, actually has enough gold as he hasn't died recently, but this is a bad timing to be looking towards a relic as JR breaking the high ground.
Yeah. I'm not sure about this usage of Eye of the Storm. He does not have Aghanim Scepter, so Chibi will not be doing any damage to the tower, but it's kind of a zoning ultimate, saying don't get near me at all, or maybe he just forgot that he is lacking the Scepter. In either case, the racks are still dropping gradually, but the Meepos are low enough that they have to think twice about this engagement. They're going to force out the split. They should walk away as best they can, but they still want the racks. They're still pounding on them. The range racks will certainly fall, but there is potential for MiTH Trust to turn this around.
Yeah, Dazzle throwing out a lot of sustain here. In comes the dunk from the Darkseer. Why did I say Darkseer? The dunk from the Earthshaker, but still JR just too damn tanky. The Shallow Grave from Dazzle helps keep Meepo alive. MyPro gets completely isolated in. Buybacks being used, well, only on the Earthshaker, but now Johnny's Revenge take this lane of racks, and they may just go straight for the top lane, and that's it. 60 minutes, GG.
Wow.
Woo.
The Nature's Prophet didn't even commit to that fight. Like, he didn't contribute. He picks off a courier with his teleport, and that's it.
And he got a tier 1 tower, but yeah, very minor compared to a mid lane of racks and the rest of your team getting completely wiped up.
I can't believe they just GG'd out without KYT doing anything there. Like, when they went for that Echo Slam, we really saw the power of the Dazzle. The Shadow Wave was maxed out. The mechanism came out, of course, from Winter's Viper, and they just didn't have the damage. They didn't have the Radiance, and yeah, that's what happens so often with Naga Sirens, is they just don't have the time to build up what they need. So they run it over in just not even 17 minutes time. An absolutely absurdly fast win coming out of Johnny's Revenge.
You don't normally think of Meepo as really doing a good lot of pushing power and a lot of work towards the end of the laning phase, but you know, 16 minutes in, there's a bunch of Meepos on the field, rush the Ag Scepter, and the sustain from Dazzle was just simply too much. No mech on the dire side either, so between the Shadow Wave and Viper's mechanism plus the maxed out corrosive skin, they were just too tanky and not enough survivability on MiTH Trust, but a fun game nonetheless, and that'll wrap up our coverage a little bit early today, Blaze. SEA continues tomorrow, and for now, we're done.
Yeah, some great games today overall, but Johnny's Revenge continuing their current streak. It's important that they keep taking these wins, as in their standings, they are pretty well neck and neck with Execration and Titan. Any kind of upsets, any games drop, they shouldn't, and they might not be able to take the wins up against the more important teams. So right here, right now, they're in a good spot, but they still have a couple of really tough games ahead of them. Execration and Titan are still a few days away, and obviously, they have to be prepared for those. So good they didn't get knocked down here, but MiTH Trust, they are not looking as great as we were hoping, and hopefully they'll be able to shakeout of this metagame, maybe 6.82 right around the corner, will rejuvenate them. But for now, tough games for them, and that does, I believe, eliminate their potential to qualify in that top 1 slot. So unfortunate, but they gave it their all, and that's what we can expect. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Here's Starladder SEA. Of course, we're going to have European Dota coming up in just a little bit on the Starladder underscore or Dota Starladder underscore EN stream, and I think that's going to be only in like half an hour's time.
Yep, starts very soon. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. We're done for now.